Remember when you ran away and I got on my knees and begged you not to leave because I go berserk? Well, you left me anyhow, and then the days got worse and worse, and now you see I've gone completely out of my mind. And they're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho.
Hey, Wisconsin high school hockey fans. Welcome back to another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I'm MJ Hammett, along with me, Del, Michael, Bill Berg Sr., Bill Berg Jr., and anybody else who can get into our feed here. Guys, we had some pretty good games of the week. On the boys' side, what a fantastic game that was. Spash and Anago did not disappoint. Bergler, you got to go watch that one, and you got to enjoy a pretty doggone good game.
I did, MJ. It was the season opener for both teams, and despite the Anago coach telling me that his team was anxious and ready to play, it was actually Spash that came out and just dominated the first period, outshooting the Robins 16-6 in the first period. But Brody Bunnell, netminder for the Robins, kept everything out of the net. A lot of good saves. There was one flurry where he was flopping around and just throwing whatever was available out in front of the puck and kept it clean. In the second period, the Robins reversed things and outshot Spash by 14-5, but the only scoring in that period was by Spash on a power play. What's his name? Dane Hoyard. I thought it was Howard, but it's Hoyard's with a Y. Dane Hoyard took a pass at his own blue line, skated up the middle, and kind of went through the Anago defenseman. First one, then the other. Went in and put a move on the goalie, Bunnell, and scored. And it was 1-0 Spash. In the third period, it went back to Spash dominating things. They outshot the Robins 12-4 in the third period. But the Robins were the only one to score in that period, despite being outshot. That was a shorthanded goal where Adam Schmidt blocked a shot from the point. Race got to the puck first, flipped the puck out to the middle. C.J. Levis picked it up, went down, and scored on Wiersba. First name... Spencer Wiersba. Scored on him, tied the game at 1-1, and that was it for the scoring in regulation. They went to overtime, and Spash was more fresh in the overtime. Looked like the Robins were a little bit done in. Short bench, not skating as many players as Spash was. So they got outshot 6-1 in the overtime, and Eli Haas netted the only goal in that. It was a shot that Bunnell got a glove on, but it kind of hit the top of his glove and trickled over it and fell in the net behind him. But there were a couple players on the Spash team that stood out, and I've named each of them. Eli Haas, big, strong, solid forward with some good moves, and that Hoyard, Dane Hoyard. I think he's a sophomore. He's fast. He's got moves. He's that's a name you're going to hear quite a bit this season. Dane Hoyard. He's a good player. Him and Haas both. They were. When I was watching that game, when those two were on the ice together, it was like, hold on tight, Robins. Something's going to happen because those two guys make things happen out there. And it was a good game. Spash came out on top 2-1 in overtime. Definitely an exciting time. Everybody was kind of pumped up with that game.
Full house for that one?
Not really. It was a Tuesday. Anago's not that big. Tuesday you've also got basketball going on, so you don't get as much for a student section on the Tuesday games as you do on a Thursday game or a weekend. So yeah, I mean, the rest of everything else was filled up except for the student section, which did not have the turnout you would expect for another night.
Alrighty, Bergler. Sounds like that's a pretty doggone good game, and your report was pretty right on. So, hey, cool. Girls, Rock County, the Fury took on the Badger Lightning in the Stick It to Cancer game. Delmar Scanlon was there for it. Delmar?
Thanks, MJ. It was the Stick It to Cancer game hosted by the Badger Lightning at Poppy Waterman Ice Arena. And while the game itself was not very close game, as the Fury went on with a 9-0 victory, posting 4 goals in the first 2 periods and then 1 in the third, led by Zoe Stieg with 2 goals and 2 assists. The Badger Lightning have 11 players this year, with 2 of them being first-year players, including their goalie. As we had looked at earlier in the year, just as the season was getting ready to start, the Lightning actually had an assistant coach from last year step up to be the head coach, and she's actually going to be a one-and-done coach, 1 year in as the head coach and done, as she will be leaving in March to go to boot camp for the Marines. So, it's going to be interesting watching the Lightning this season as they try to develop a little talent, but they're going to be getting lots of ice time. And the Rock County Fury are going to be one of those teams to watch and are going to be a contender, maybe the most picked team by a few of the people that we've spoken to today to come out of Sectional 3. And be interesting to watch them and see if they can make their way back to state this year. But as we stated, this was a Stick It to Cancer game. But as the game was beginning, they had a ceremonial puck drop by Russell Dillon, who is a 10-year-old out of the Mauston School District. His dad is actually the principal for the Mauston High School, and he had been diagnosed with a brain tumor back in April and started undergoing treatment in May. And so, it was an emotional night for, a lot of the Badger Lightning there, and the Fury skaters, and everybody took a group picture with him on the ice and everything else. And it's, one of those things that we try to promote when the local teams are doing have an awareness game going on. And this was one that the Fury ended up dominating on the ice, but the real story out of it was the Stick It to Cancer and Russell Dillon. And with that, I'm going to toss it back to you, MJ.
All right, thank you very much, Del. That
I got a couple questions for you, Del.
Oh, no.
First of all, when you said they only had 11 skaters, and then you went, but the coach, I thought you were going to say, well, the coach decided to suit up to make it 12 skaters, but that wasn't the case. I see on their roster they've got of their 11 players. I mean, they have 2 goalies listed. They don't suit up both in goaltender equipment each night, do they? Does the backup goalie skate out, or
the backup goalie does skate out? Okay. And so she was getting ice time. And one thing that I forgot to mention is, for this team, Sarah Durst being the head coach is actually a good thing because she can really relate to the players and what they're going through. She started playing hockey her 8th grade year. Sarah and my daughter Caitlin were classmates, teammates on the ice. I had the privilege to work with Sarah when she first started learning to play hockey. And that season, there were games that we went to where we went there and we only had 9 skaters going down to the iceplex. And out of that, one of them was suited up as the goalie. And so she understands what the players are going through, being shorthanded out there, and what it's like to be out there going in your 8th grade freshman years of school and skating with players that are into their first year of playing. So, she can go on her personal experience as to what that's like and relate to the skaters too with it.
All right, let's move on to our next segment, the listener question and answer segment. Got a couple listeners that asked the Wisconsin Prep Hockey panel, if you want to call us that, Have the early season tournaments helped identify strong programs? And which teams have surprised us so far this season? That's 2 questions.
Yeah, you gotta do them one at a time, please.
No.
Those 2 are together for a reason.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're basically
I stand corrected.
They're basically the same question.
They are not.
Get to answering.
All right. Man. Sorry. Once again, I apologize humbly.
That's never happened since the beginning of time.
No, I was going to say, I'll have you know that's the first on WIPH radio, even though we're not radio.
All right, then answer the question.
Okay, I'll answer the question. I'm going to answer the second part of the first question, which teams have surprised you so far this year. And I'm just going to go by records because that's an obvious way to do it. And we have a couple teams that have unbeaten records. Sauk Prairie is 4-0. Marquette is 5-0. And it wasn't that long ago that they were down in a state tournament, probably, 4 or 5 years ago, 3-4 years ago. And Ashwaubenon is 4-1. So those are 3 teams right there that maybe are a little surprised. They don't get a lot of notoriety, but if they keep winning, a few more games, they might get bumped up into the honorable mention category. So that would be a nice surprise for them, guys.
Ashwaubenon last year was not a very good team. They did, and the year before that, they were not a very good team. They really had their struggles. So 4-1, good for them.
Surprise in the other direction. We knew that they graduated a lot of guys and they were going to fall off, but Appleton United is 0-5-1.
Yikes.
I did not expect them to be riding the bottom of the Badgerland Conference, but unless something turns around soon, that looks like where they're at.
Well, that's even a bigger surprise than what I was going to mention. Wausau West sitting at 2-3. Obviously, they start their season with the tournament over in Eau Claire. That's got Eau Claire Memorial, Green Bay, Superior, and Wausau West. And they got beat 4-1 in both of those games. They did come back, bounce back nicely with a 4-3 win over Stevens Point. They fell behind 3-0 against Stevens Point, and then in the second period they mounted their comeback, ended up winning in overtime 4-3, and then they made their trip down to the Milwaukee area, beat Waukesha, and then lost to USM. But I don't remember the last time Wausau West was sitting with a sub 500 record even this early in the season.
The flip side of that tournament is that this early in the season, Superior is sitting with a 500 record on their end. And the last couple of years, Superior has not had great starts to their season, always playing against, top Wisconsin teams. Even though they won the state tournament 2 years ago, the last 2 years it seems like against those top Wisconsin teams during the regular season, Superior couldn't buy a win. But it looks like the start of this year they're strong again.
And once again, they're going to be playing top programs in the state again.
Yeah, and regarding the first part of that, the early season tournaments, a team can do well in their own tournament and not finish strong. So, yes, it can identify strong programs, but not always. I guess a lot of that part of it depends on the competition of your tournament.
Well, I'm going to toss it over to the girls' side a little bit, and I think all of us that have looked at some of the girls' scores coming in this year are a little surprised we're not used to seeing the Central Wisconsin Storm, basically sub 500 team right now with a 2-3 record. Granted, they've played, some tough teams, but then you look at that, and then we look and see the Wisconsin Valley Union, formerly known as the Point Rapids Marshfield Red Panthers, and with their co-op additions this year, they're sitting there at 3-0 to start the season. And you look at some of the records, Appleton United's up there, and I don't think anybody's surprised with that. The Warbirds are up there challenging. And the Fusion have come out strong to start the season this year. And that Big Rivers Conference, you got 3 strong teams in there that are going to be battling it out all season long to see who's going to come out of that conference and win their conference title. But then down the road, start looking at sectional 1. That's going to be an interesting sectional to see what team comes out of there.
Getting back to the Storm, Del, they lost 2 of their top defensemen, Taylor Troy and Jamie Hendrickson. And basically, I call them all-conference defensemen, even though the Storm is an independent, but they were that good. And, I mean, that's a huge loss for a team. And they probably lost, I think, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 top forwards. So that's a heck of a hit for a team to come into the next year, And don't count them out, though. 2-3 or whatever the record is right now, they're going to go on a winning streak at some point here. They're going to start clicking. In that game against the Union, probably the last 2.5 periods, they played very well defensively and kind of held the Union in check after it looked like they were maybe going to get blown out. Scored 2 goals in the first 6 minutes or so. So don't count them out just yet. The guy standing behind the bench has got a few wins to his resume, so I think they'll figure it out here before too long.
Yeah, he knows a thing or two about getting teams on track, no doubt about that.
Yeah, going back to the boys, as far as Superior goes, we'll see, what they're really made of on the 16th of December when they come down to face the overrated Antigo team, according to one of our sponsors anyway.
But, and that's always the great thing, early in the season when people are asking us, what we're looking at. By the time we get to the end of December, beginning of January, these records are going to change quite a bit. And who we see at the top now, we've seen before where they've dropped off in the second half of the season, kicks in, and as it starts getting time for the playoffs and everything, who's the one that's on the hot streak and has improved the most through the season? Every coach wants to be peaking as you get to that point of the season, and that's what they're doing right now. They're all learning their system and what's got to be done to be ready for the end of the season.
And we're like 3 podcasts into the season, and I think that's the 3rd time Trasher has mentioned the Storm losing their top 2 defensive players. And he has yet to mention that they lost 4 of their 6 top scorers, including like 70% of their goals last season.
No, I just said that a couple minutes ago.
No, you didn't.
I said we lost 4 or 5 of their top forwards.
You said they lost a couple forwards, and you keep harping
No.
They lost 70% of their goals from last season.
It all adds up, man.
Unless they can find somebody who can actually put the puck in the net.
Well, they have some players that can put the puck in the net. Number 9, Eden Gruber, I believe she's a sophomore this year. She's a nice little player, very quick, very skilled, very talented. Remember that name, Eden Gruber. She's going to be one of the top players in the state before it's all said and done. And yes, Junior, you are correct. They did lose a boatload of scoring, but sometimes Bergler can probably attest to this. The defensemen are kind of important too. So I've been harping on that. That was, I think, the big loss. Yes, the offensive end of it is a huge loss too. But eventually they'll get it figured out. I guess that's the bottom line.
Well, I know one thing we do have figured out, and that's the Radisson Madison Players of the Week. Madison's premier West Side Hotel. Trasher, would you like to tell us who our recipients are of the Players of the Week?
I will tell you exactly who the recipients are. On the boys' side, we'll start with the youngster. Freshman forward Brady Welch of Fond du Lac Springs. In 3 games last week, in a 5-1 win over Cedarburg, he scored 4 goals. In a 4-1 win over Onalaska, he scored a goal. And in a 5-0 win at the Aquinas-Holman Avalanche Co-op, he scored 2 of the goals. So far on the year, actually, he's has 8 goals and 1 assist for 9 points. He's a +8, and he has 3 game winners of the first 4 games that he's played for the Fond du Lac Springs. Coach Tim Ahern said he is a huge reason that they've been so successful this year. So Brady Welsh, Fond du Lac Springs forward, is the boys' Radisson Madison Player of the Week. On the girls' side, it's a senior. She's from Viroqua. She's a goalie. Her name is Ivy Shanka. In 3 games last week for her, Monday night she had a 20-save shutout over the Icebergs and a 4-0 win. Friday night, 13 saves, another shutout over the Northern Edge, 4-0. And if this is getting repetitive, so be it. Saturday night, 21 saves, another shutout over Lakeshore, 5-0. So for the week, 54 shots, 54 saves, 3 shutouts. That's not too shabby, guys. 3 shutouts in a week, that's pretty darn good. So Ivy Shanka was our Girls Player of the Week, Radisson Madison Players of the Week, Madison's premier West Side Hotel, and the home of the Wisconsin Prep Hockey Group for the state tournament. Back to you, MJ.
Well, can this kind of double back into our teams that surprised you so far? Because when we talked earlier about the Badgerland Conference, we mentioned that Nina Hortonville, Menasha, and Appleton, and Fond du Lac and Fond du Lac Springs, all kind of being right there together, pretty much based on, last year's performance and the players that they had lost from last year. And now you throw this wild card in there, a freshman that obviously none of us had, heard of because he was not playing high school hockey last year, suddenly thrown into the mix there with Fond du Lac Springs, perhaps elevating them up a little bit in the chances for the Badgerland Conference.
The reason, yes, Fond du Lac Springs 4-0, but one thing I had in the back of my mind was a comment made by a coach over in the Fox Valley area who said, maybe not right away, but before the season is over, this team is going to be a top 10 team, probably close to top 5. So I think subconsciously I thought of that, and that's why I really didn't put Springs as a surprise. But 4-0 is a heck of a good start. We've seen these guys there before, and it looks like they have some young talent. They have some experienced players. Colin Ahern in net is doing a super job. And, Coach Tim Ahern gets these guys whipped into shape. They could have a really good season here, and it looks like they have a hell of a start so far.
Which coach said it?
It was Coach McCracken said that, actually.
Okay, then.
From Notre Dame.
Because if it was Tim, I'm like, that's pretty biased. But.
No, it was the assistant coach said, just watch out for these guys.
No, Tim, I did run into him during the summer, and he said his squad was going to be decent this year. He was really looking forward to the season coming up. His son, I believe, Colin, is a senior now, and Colin's grown a lot. I mean, he's physically grown from when he was a freshman up to a senior now. He has put on quite a few inches. So he's gotten some size, and his game has improved. He's been playing some hockey at a higher level in the off season. So yeah, I like his squad. I mean, I think they're going to be a team that's we're watching them right now, and it's going to be interesting to watch them through the season, as I think they have expectations that are pretty high this year, and for good reason.
Not to nitpick, but freshman to senior is typically when people grow.
Moving right along.
Yeah, I'll nitpick with you because I think I grew 1 inch during that span.
So that was all your hair.
Listener question number 2.
Yeah, keep her moving.
Let us not digress. Question number 2 from our listeners, or followers, whichever they want to be called. Who benefited from conference realignment this past year? Which sectional right now appears to be the strongest, and which one is too close to call based on early season results? I can tell you down here, I can tell you that I think that the sectional in Madison is going to be a really close one to call this year because Sun Prairie's come out the chute here pretty hot, and Verona is going to be a very good team this year, and I think that's going to be a tightly contested one. You've got Madison Edgewood in there as well. So I think, and you can never discount Middleton. So I'm thinking that right now, I would think that may be one of the stronger, in this part of the state, one of the stronger sectionals. Benefited from conference realignment. That's one I guess I really don't have an answer for.
I don't know. Beaver Dam's going to like the Badger South, or maybe North. I don't know. From the Badgerland. I don't really know anything about conference realignment. As far as sectionals go, I think Section 1 on both sides is probably the toughest. The girls' side, Dell has been on and on about Section 1 with Hudson, Eau Claire, Altoona, St. Croix Valley Fusion, the Hayward Co-op. They're stacked. On the boys' side, I think Hudson, Superior, and New Richmond is about as good a top 3 as you can find in the state. So that'll be a fun one to watch. And I think Section 2 on the boys' side, now that Eau Claire North is good again, will be pretty interesting. And Chippewa Falls has been pretty good the last 2 years, and they are currently undefeated so far this season too. So we'll see if they can challenge.
Yeah, well, there's I was going to say there's another team on the other side of town in Eau Claire that's pretty good, usually at the end of the year too. So, a lot of teams are going to still have to go through them.
I thought they went without mentioning. Everybody, you just assume.
Yeah, we were just looking for somebody to challenge them. Section 5 looks pretty interesting. We were just talking about Fond du Lac Springs. You've got Nina Hortonville, Menasha. You've got Notre Dame Academy, who's sitting at 3-1 right now. Their only loss coming to that unmentioned team from the city on the western side of the state that we just didn't talk about. So that's been a good conference or a good section of late also.
Well, as you look at the girls' side, we've talked about Sectional 1. Sectional 4 is going to be interesting to watch. You've got, out of Sectional 4, you've got the Warburg sitting there right now, still looking to pick somebody's still looking to knock them off and give them their first loss. But then you've got Appleton United. USM looks like they could end up fairly strong this year. They had a nice win here over the Rock County Fury. 4-3 game, and so those 3 teams are sitting there, and there's going to be somebody else that's going to step up there and challenge a little bit out of the Bay Area. We know is always going to be tough. So there's your possibly your top 4 out of Sectional 4. Sectional 3, you've got Rock County Fury, who may be the favorite in Sectional 3, but they're going to be challenged by Cap City Cougars, who represented out of Sectional 3 last year. And right now, you're starting to think Sectional 2 could be wide open. It's going to be interesting to see who ends up coming and taking control of that sectional.
Dell, don't forget in Section 3 where you're talking about the Rock County Fury, don't forget the Metro Lynx. They have Sydney McCursey in net, and she does a fine job, and that team, you can't throw dirt on them. They're going to come to play. And once conference play really gets going with them, Sun Prairie, the Cap City Cougars, and the Fury, once those teams start meeting each other, I think you're going to find a few more things are going to shake down in who's really the top dog in that area.
The other team that I think could be a little bit of a sleeper is the one that, the goalie posted 3 shutouts this weekend. What are we going to get out of Viroqua this year? one of the things that has always hurt there is they've always looked for scoring, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can if they have found some scoring to come out of the Viroqua and maybe become a contender in that sectional.
They do have a scorer this year.
Erin Simonson.
Yes.
She was nominated actually as a Player of the Week candidate. I believe she had 9 points or something like that last week. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
She had 6 goals and 2 assists.
Okay, 8 points. Sorry. Yeah, 8, 9.
I did get a chance to see that, Dell. You mentioned the USM Rock County Fury game. I was at that game. You know, watching USM, I thought that they were pretty quick that night. That was the first time I'd seen the Fury this season, and Fury has had a quick turnaround. I mean, they played in the tournament on Friday and Saturday. Friday night they played 1 game. Saturday they played 2 games. So they're off Sunday, practice Monday, and then they got another game Tuesday. So a pretty quick turnaround for them to get back in action. Not to say that they were going to be tired or anything, but I think USM looked pretty good. They looked quick. This game was a little bit closer than, well, I shouldn't say closer, but it was a 4-3 win for USM, but, the Fury got a late goal with 8 seconds left. So not a bad game at all. And
the USM was coming off a tournament too that weekend where they played, Hayward and Eau Claire North. They played, Central Wisconsin Storm. Central Wisconsin Storm and Hayward that weekend.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next segment. And it is the top 10. Bill Jr., as he does, he counts it up and tabulates it, and he's even better than the NCAA pollsters. But he does have a top 10 together. Bill Jr., spit it out.
Sure. For the boys, number 1 is Hudson. Number 2 is some team from the western part of the state that shall remain nameless. 3 is Nina Hortonville Menasha. 4 Notre Dame. 5 Superior. 6 USM. 7 Waukesha. 8 Wausau West. 9 West Salem. And 10 Homestead. Honorable mention for the boys, there are 6 this week. Arrowhead, Eau Claire North, Fond du Lac Springs, New Richmond, Spash, and Verona. The girls' top 10, I'm actually not super happy with. The votes were all over the place, so I think it's kind of a mess. Nobody really agreed after the first 3. Number 1, Hudson, that was pretty much agreed upon. Number 2, Eau Claire Altoona, agreed upon. 3, St. Croix Valley, agreed upon. After that, it was all over the place. 4, USM. 5, the Warbird Beaver Dam Co-op. 6, Rock County. 7, the Wisconsin Valley Union. 8, Bay Area. 9, Central Wisconsin. 10, Fox Cities, and honorable mention, the Cap City Cougars.
Bay Area and Rock County get together again this coming Friday night. Those 2 teams played just about a week ago. They played in a tournament over there at Arrowhead, and it was a 0-0 tie in a shootout. Bay Area did win it, but those 2 teams are going to get together again. That should be another interesting matchup to see there, as 2 of the better teams in girls hockey are going to butt heads down in Beloit. Guys, anybody else see anything about our top 10?
Looking on the girls' side, Wisconsin Valley Union I'm a little bit partial towards because that was kind of part of what I had been associated with back in the day. Moved up to 7th. Changing of the guard in Section 2 perhaps this year, maybe. Storm, Union. I realize I'm about 1 segment late here on that one, but I don't know. There's USM has played very well lately. Warbirds have been hot. Rock County, I think they had 1 little blip in there. Bay Area's been good. I don't know. It's like the usual suspects in there. Waiting for some honorable mention team or somebody that's not listed to jump up in there and see what they can do. Otherwise, it looks pretty much like usual on the girls' side, guys.
I don't know what you consider to be as usual, because I don't believe that in the past we've had, Rock County and Wisconsin Valley or whatever their name, up this high in our rankings before. And it's been a while since, the Fond du Lac Co-op has been up that high in the ranking either. So I think there is I think there's a changing of the guard, and unfortunately, I think the main reason for that changing of the guard is that these co-ops, Fond du Lac, Rock County, and Wisconsin, have all, absorbed other teams, made themselves better by picking up additional players. Let's have it.
That is true. For whatever reason that it needed to happen, and some of the teams picked up schools because there were players available. Other teams co-opted because the team that wanted to co-op with other teams was basically very short on players. I mean, there's numerous reasons for it. It's just something that is going to happen. I think we had I think the girls' game, or the girls kind of plateaued a few years back when they got up to like 33 or 34 teams. Now they just have been struggling to maintain the number of teams simply because the number of players, a high number of players for each school is not there anymore. And that's, I think, basically the youth program is not really pushing the girls' hockey like it had been 10, 12, 15 years ago.
I think that's a valid point, Michael.
Well, I think there are several valid points to be made there, and there's actually an excellent article on the topic on our website that was not written by any of us, but by a contributor, and discusses several options or several reasons why the participation in girls hockey is down, and lays out several concrete steps to take going forward. And it's not going to be a short process, and I believe it has a lot to do with I've always believed it has a lot to do with co-ops. When you have a co-op, you don't have the identity in the community. Like here in Antigo, for instance, you have the Antigo High School hockey team, and the boys, they all want to play for the Antigo High School hockey team. The girls, there is no Antigo High School hockey team. There's a co-op with Rhinelander that's called the Northern Edge, and they have some games here, they have some games there. It's not something that's identified with Antigo.
And nobody in Antigo likes Rhinelander.
That's true, too. There's really not much to like about Rhinelander.
If you're from Antigo, you have to qualify that. You cannot just crap all over Rhinelander. No, you can't.
I think if you're from if you're from anywhere outside of Oneida County, you can agree with that comment.
Brett Aylesworth is not going to like you.
He doesn't like me anyway. He never has. All right. Rhinelander's a lovely place. In Antigo, we don't like Rhinelander. In Antigo, we don't like Spash. There's a lot of things we don't like here. None of it has to do with jealousy. Believe me, none of it. Okay? All right. Anyway, you have to have an identity. The kids have to have something that they can go to and look up, and something that they want to become. These big co-ops, they don't develop that, and that's why they don't have. That's why they lose the. They lose the youth level participation, because these little girls they don't want to grow up to be, players on their high school team, because they don't have a high school team. There's just some mythical co-op team that, some of the girls play for, and some don't. Read the article written by Mr. Ash. What was his first name?
Jim. Yeah, it was an excellent piece.
Yes, it is.
He laid it out all very logically. He came up with some reasons why. He came up with some suggestions for trying to improve things, and it's just a matter of, enough people grabbing the horn by the bulls and making it happen, right?
Yeah, and it's not a quick fix. And like you said, it's going to be like a 10 or 15-year fix to get back to where you can have that local identity, where these kids want to come out. And yeah, excellent article. I'm glad he sent it to us.
And where can we find that? And where can we find that excellent article at?
I don't know.
On our page.
Trasher buried that somewhere on the site. You can't. It's really hard to get to.
I don't think it's buried that far, is it?
I don't know.
I thought it was in the slideshow. I'll look, but
is it in the exclusives?
No, I don't think so.
It should be in the. Besides the slideshow, it's got to be somewhere else.
I'll find it and move it. Yeah.
Not move it, just add a couple tags to it.
Yeah, I add a tag to it. Yeah, Jim.
Actually, if you look on the homepage under breaking news from around the state, it's the 5th article down. We need a hero and a champion.
Yeah, go read it.
Okay.
I'll add a tag and put it in the exclusives.
There you go.
Do we need Bonnie Tyler to sing "I Need a Hero"?
I think you will do.
Let's move on. Oh my God.
How about David Bowie? We can be heroes just for one day.
We can be heroes.
We better move on before I let my thoughts on the Wisconsin Valley Union out.
All right, let's go.
Or we could be a champion. We are the champions, but all right, we got to move on. Our last listener question: with 2 divisions next year, the predicted cut is about student population of 1,000 or less. They also believe schools with populations less than can opt to play up to Division I by declaring by the WIAA date, probably the same date as winter co-ops. Who do we see moving up, guys? I would bet USM will.
The private schools that we routinely talk about are probably all candidates for moving up. Your Notre Dame, your USM, your Edgewood, Fondy Springs probably, but I can't imagine like Stevens Point Pacelli is going to play up. Regis McDonald, I don't know that they will, but I can't imagine it would be a whole lot of teams petitioning to move up.
Is that actually a thing that teams can move up?
I don't think it's ever been announced yet, but we were all pretty sure that it would be before it actually happened.
I looked on the bulletins and I didn't see anything. And Dell and I actually talked about this before, but here's something that's kind of vague and maybe guys that are smarter than I can read between the lines. Directly from the WIAA, it said the board supported an amended recommendation for a 2-year experiment on sponsoring 2 divisions in boys hockey. Now here's the key part. Beginning with the 2020 state tournament. So, does that mean it actually starts the 1920 season or after the 20 state tournament? They don't really say.
The 1920 season, because this is the 2018 state tournament.
Yeah, so it's not actually going to happen next year.
Yeah, so the 1920 season, they will begin. Now, I'm guessing you have to declare before the season starts, I would guess, right?
Well, again,
I would think so.
I mean, we've surmised that before based on what Minnesota does, but is that actually in the WIAA's writing?
It is not, but in our conversation about this when they announced it and with the couple coaches we talked to, part of the reason we believe they announced it 2 years ahead of time is because it would give the WHCA plenty of time to make their case heard, or in air quotes, bitch, about the WIAA's crappy sub-sufficient plan. So I have to believe that schools are going to get the ability to opt up. Whether that has to be a one up, one down type thing or something else, I don't know. But I can't imagine they're not going to let some of these private schools opt up. Otherwise you're just going back to the old public school, private school division.
Yeah. The bulletin says the tournament format will feature 4 teams in Division 1 and 4 in Division 2, with the smallest 32 programs by enrollment assigned to Division 2. Says nothing about opting up. I would think that they would, but then, like you said, you're going to have a one up, one down. Otherwise, you're going to have your brackets are going to be totally skewed and totally screwed.
Well, I can't imagine there aren't schools that wouldn't want to opt down either. Just because you're a big school doesn't mean that you have a large youth hockey program and a bunch of players. You may not want to be in Division 1. So, we'll see if they change it. As of now, there's no opt up. But I can't imagine that they can't figure that out in the next year and a half.
Well, the other thing we also thought that they would figure out is, making it 8 teams on the large side and 4 on the small side, because the 32 smallest schools, so you have 32 schools, they get 4 teams, and the big teams have, 60?
It'd be in the 50.
I think it's a little bit less than that.
Right around 60, 58 to 60,
right.
And they would have 4 teams. Now that's not balanced either.
Well, you're going to have the same number of teams. You're just going to change the composition of your field, really. And then maybe not even so, depending on who's in Division 2. You might end up with pretty close to the same that you normally have anyway.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that 4 and 4 is stupid.
Yes, it is, and their whole makeup. What they announced right now is we see as a starting point. Whether they see it as a starting point and they actually agree to changes and compromise is to be seen, because they're not really known for that. But hopefully it's a starting point. They get the conversation going and things can be amended going forward. But right now, the point that Jeff Sauer makes about teams moving up, that's officially not in there yet.
Yet.
We hope the word "yet" is there, but you never know with these guys.
Yeah, I would.
Right.
I would enjoy watching a state tournament of Notre Dame Academy, University School, Madison, Edgewood, and I don't know, somebody from the Northwest.
Hayward,
New Richmond. How big is New Richmond? Are they small?
They're small enough. Hayward and New Richmond would fight for that last spot. Yeah.
That would be done.
Well, guys, we got our upcoming games of the week this week. On the boys' side, Eau Claire North is taking on Onalaska on Tuesday, and on the girls' side, Superior is at Hudson on Saturday. And Bergler, I know you're going to go over for that one.
Yeah, because it's 2 non-co-ops.
Who put a nickel in him tonight?
I don't know, but he's punchy. He must have started.
I know.
Well before we started recording tonight.
We had a little, Chianti with dinner.
Kind of poking the bear there a little bit. We got our final thoughts for tonight.
A lot of.
What's that?
Well, I said a lot of our topics have just got me a lot of hot button topics tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's what makes the WIPH podcast what it is. And I'm not going to say what it is. You guys out there can think about that for yourselves.
I'm fairly certain Trasher doesn't know what the name of the podcast is. Because he's called it Wisconsin Prep Hockey Radio and the WIPH podcast tonight.
Well, I don't want to listen to myself talk, man, so I never listen to it. I'm living it, baby.
It's because we lived it. That's right.
This week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. How's that?
All
Good
right.
enough? Close enough?
Yeah.
All right. See, I got
Final
it.
thoughts there, William?
Well, this first one's not mine, but I can kick it off.
Okay.
There was a change in the permission system in Sport Engine this year that allows teams to change things like their name. And we're kindly asking that you stop it. Please don't do that. We set those up the way that makes sense, we think, for our readers. Changing your name to the Wings doesn't tell anybody anything. Changing your name to the Avs doesn't tell anybody anything. We're not picking on anybody specific, but
No. Let's pick on the major one. Changing your name to MHS.
yes,
Is that Monroe High School, Mosinee High School, Medford High School, Menominee High School, Middleton High School? MHS can be anybody.
yes. So
Milton.
in those instances where we found some teams had changed their names, we have obviously we don't have we're not omniscient, but in those instances we have tried to change them all back. And if you try to change them again, we may have to take extra steps. But if you want your team name to be changed because of something changed with your co-op or any other reason, talk to us. We can help you with that. Don't just do it. Because besides confusing people who read the site, it also confuses us. All of a sudden the team names are changed and we're like, did we get hacked? We did not know that teams had that ability this year. They have never had it in the past. So please don't change your team names.
Junior, the last thing you wanted to touch on?
Sure. Patron. Obviously lots of questions from Jeff Sauer and Egan Ahern this week. If the other people who back us don't want to take advantage of, their backing, that's fine. I'm perfectly happy to take their money, but patrons do get to ask us questions for the podcast, and we will answer them to the best of our meager ability. No new patrons this week. That's going to happen from time to time. But we're like halfway to our goal of doing This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey live over video. So if you want to see us do that live, donate. If you want to see us not do that live, donate even more and try to convince us not to do that. Money talks.
I would say probably choice B.
Money talks. But thank you. We honestly, we've asked for donations every year, pretty much, that we've run the site, with the rare few in between here and there. And usually when we didn't, it's because we were charging the Coaches Association, which we don't want to do anymore. If you can spare us a few shekels, please do. It helps us run the site, and we could not do it without you. Ad revenue is not great for the small niche high school hockey website in Wisconsin. We don't have Minnesota's readership numbers, so anything you can contribute helps.
How do you top that, guys?
You just say thank you to all who are visitors to our site and who have contributed and who haven't contributed, and just keep coming back. We'll try to do the best we can to cover the state. And one quick thing, I guess, that I thought about before was that somebody had said, well, hey, your website is turning into USM Prep Hockey. Well, there's a lot of stories on, a lot of game summaries on from the USM coaching staff, in particular Tommy G, but he's writing the game stories, he's getting pictures, he wants them put on there. I offer that challenge to anybody else in the state. Write a game story, take some pictures, send them to me. I'll be more than happy to post them. So,
and other teams have done that too. Just a few years ago, Northland Pines had most of their, for 2 years, most of their boys hockey games written up on the site because they had a student who was interested in sports journalism, and now I believe she's working with one of the college hockey teams at whatever college she went to in Minnesota, writing up stories for their website, doing stats and stuff like that. They just asked, hey, can we do this? Of course, the answer is yes. That's why we made a change a couple of years ago. Those stories about USM are clearly identified as by Tommy G, USM assistant coach. We always say where the story came from. If you want there to be more stories about your team, go ahead and contribute them. If your local newspaper actually has write-ups online about your team, we can add those to the breaking news from around the state. All you got to do is send us a link, and we can take it from there.
And we have seen quite a bit of that too. I think I have my Google feed set up to give me stories like that, and I will post probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 a week. But I mean, there's so much more out there. Like Junior said, the girl Jossie from Northern Pines, she's interested in journalism, sports journalism. Do you have kids at your school that are interested in journalism, interested in doing something like that going forward into college? This would be a great learning opportunity, a great experience for them. So if you have somebody at your school that's interested in something like that, have them take notes and have them write stories for us, and we'll post them with credit to that student. It's a great opportunity.
Growing up when I was in high school, I wanted to be a sports writer. I wanted to be a sports journalist. But that dream kind of ended because I would go to typing class, and I did not pass typing class. So I had to readjust my goals. Now what does it matter? I could not pass typing class, guys.
And just to say, the effect we can have on young people who decide to work with us is that Jocelyn Monge from Northland Pines is now at St. Cloud State. She is the women's hockey operations and video coordinator.
Oh, wow.
That's not a little thing in college sports. That's a big deal. And it has almost nothing to do with us, but almost nothing is not the same as nothing. So we helped a little bit.
Yeah, she got that experience, and that, helped her move forward. She gained confidence, gained experience, and she's in a good place now. So, hey, that could be you guys out there at Middleton High School or Notre Dame or New Richmond or wherever.
I thought you were going to say at Middleton High School or Mosinee High School or Monroe High School.
Yeah, I had been thinking I could have done that. How about Antigo? Maybe up there we can find somebody.
Anybody from MHS, whatever school it is, can do it.
That would be great. All right, guys. Do we need to make anybody's ears hurt anymore?
Keep your stick on the ice.
Yep. Keep your stick on the ice. All right, for Trasher.
Keep your glove up.
Keep your glove up. Delmar, what's your...
What?
Bill Jr.
Catchphrase.
Good night, Mary Ellen.
Don't go kicking my dog around.
All right.
Good night, John Boy.
Way to Lotus sees us. You've been listening to This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.